Hello everyone and welcome to DNA Sports. In this video we aim to tackle a lot of misconceptions surrounding Cam Newton, one of our favorite players. After many Twitter discussions, a few Substack articles, and a short posted on this very channel, we decided to discuss particularly the often ignored years that followed his most infamous moments. Looking back on it, Cam is often seen as a one-hit wonder, a fantastic but one-dimensional player that took a lackluster team far and couldn't keep it together on the biggest stage. While some parts of that can be debated, some true, some false, we aim to add a little bit of context to one of football's greatest what-ifs. Because what if I told you that Cam's best season came after his MVP year? Despite being at the best of his career during his MVP peak, a lot of the criticisms that we see used against Cam were still true despite him playing the best football of his career. Yes, he might have been electric, he might have ran over linebackers, but he was rather inefficient with the ball, and he did throw a lot of interceptions relative to other quarterbacks in the league. Something that we did get to shine a light on in our short was the quality of Cam's supporting cast and the Carolina Panthers as a whole. He was directly ran into the ground by Ron Rivera's offensive scheme, because despite Lamar also running with the ball as a mobile quarterback, Cam was Carolina's run scheme. In the read option, he was the speed back, and on the goal line, he was the power back, where he would truck linebackers and dive for touchdowns. And while these electric highlights came as a joy to football fans around the world, they put Cam's body in compromising situation after compromising situation, leading to the injury problems that we now know would sideline the rest of his career. The interesting part about the insight that we plan to kind of highlight in this video is what Cam was actually capable of before the injury that would really shorten his career, a hit from the helmet of TJ Watt that connected directly with his shoulder. So let's go back to the end of 2017. It was January 11th. The Carolina Panthers had just lost a wildcard playoff game to the New Orleans Saints. Cam had thrown for over 300 yards that day, but Carolina still struggled. It wasn't the first instance of their offense seeming just completely out of rhythm. One thing was clear, something desperately needed to change if they wanted to find success. And when the offensive coordinator spot was open, NFL insiders began to suggest all sorts of different types of coaches to fit the new job. However, Ron Rivera had someone specific in mind, Norv Turner. NFL insiders reported that Rivera had actually reached out personally. At this point in time, Turner was semi-retired, living quietly after being let go by Minnesota. But after his time served sculpting tactics for Troy Aikman's Cowboys in the 90s, his reputation as a coach who emphasized balance, timing, and also quarterback-friendly system spoke for itself. The sentiment behind his philosophy on Cam and the Panthers in general was to make the most out of Newton's abilities without allowing the offense to live and die on the electric plays that he'd become known for. He was determined to pair Cam up with a proper receiving room, something that he had not gotten access to throughout his entire career. With a promising backfield partner in Christian McCaffrey, who would prove to be elite in the air and on the ground, a revamped Panthers offense would allow for Cam to play the best football of his career and a more efficient brand of football. While Newton was still more than capable of launching it deep, Norv's offense did not require him to do so. The deep bombs were less out of desperation and more because of design, as the mainstay of this new approach would be quicker reads and more short dump-offs to tight ends and running backs. Throughout the next 8 weeks of the new season, the Panthers would go 6-2, and Cam would complete nearly 70% of his passes and dominate from the pocket. With 15 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, the days of 7-step dropbacks and deep go balls and posts were traded for quick game RPOs, slants, curls, and swing passes to CMC. Cam was coached into the player that he always had the raw potential to be. Norv Turner was capable to capitalize on the inherent football ability that Newton possessed, and he honed him into a more efficient, but quieter, in many ways better version of the Cam that fans had come to know. His depth of average target dropped significantly, and the more simple, straightforward system allowed for a change of pace from the often slower developing improvisation that Carolina had become reliant on. Cam's first reads were significantly clearer. First option, second option, dump off. Out of the backfield, CMC managed to rack up an average of 7 to 8 targets per game. A more disciplined Cam was fine dumping it off, rather than the typical bad habit of forcing difficult throws that often resulted in the interceptions and turnovers that he would struggle with in previous years. See, Cam still ran with the ball, but situationally instead of mandatory. The Panthers' diverse approach with play action and pre-snap motion meant that defenses had to adjust to different looks instead of the mostly complacent approach from Rivera and Shula, which would often result in running it up the middle on first down every single play, putting Cam in unwinnable situations with predictable read offenses that defenses knew were coming. In Norv's offense, he was still a threat on the goal line with 4 rushing touchdowns prior to the injury, but the designed runs were infrequent and caught defenses by surprise for a change. Unfortunately, Cam's best was limited as he was unable to finish the season on the same standard. The shoulder injuries just caught up to him, and his mechanics were destroyed. He would have solid stretches and good games, but it wasn't the same going forward. Honestly, as football fans, it's a shame we don't offer the respect to Cam that he deserves. His potential was really limitless, and it was unfortunate that it took so long for a coach to tap into that. Norv Turner wasn't even trying to change Cam. He was simply unlocking the potential that he always had, but applying it to an NFL system that would actually win games and allow for the team to do their part while keeping Cam healthy. It's a shame that it took until after all the injuries had already caught up for this approach to take place. You can only wonder what would have happened if someone like Turner was a part of Cam's development in his rookie season. There's just so many what ifs, so who knows? I just like to think that somewhere out there in the universe, the reign of Super Cam got to last just a little bit longer. Thanks for watching another video here on DNA Sports. If you enjoyed, your support really does mean the world as we're trying to grow this channel, so every like and subscription helps out a ton. Make sure to comment your thoughts on this video, or even if there's another topic you'd like to hear us discuss, let us know. We're happy to respond to whatever type of feedback we get, and we hope that this video convinced you to join us on this journey. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.